Welcome to America's #1 Cincinnati-based museum podcast. Meanwhile, at the museum, the show that takes you inside Cincinnati Museum Center and beyond. Over there on the ones and twos, we have Magic Mitch.
Hey.
Wiki. That's what the ones and twos do, right?
That's exactly what the ones and twos do. Our guest is getting in on the action early. You may recognize the voice. You probably woke up to her this morning. It is WLWT, Channel 5's morning meteorologist, Randi Rico. Is that how you would describe yourself? Like, what's your, like, WWE, like, intro hype?
Oh, man. Well, obviously I would need a chair and some more spandex than I have to wear on a daily basis. But, yeah, that works. WLWT, morning meteorologist, sleep deprived, weather guru, whatever you want to call me.
How long have you been doing this? How long have you been at this game in general and here in Cincinnati?
So, mental math. Okay, so I have been doing weather since 2003. So what is that, 22 years now? And I'm in my 19th year at WLWT.
Oh, my gosh.
I know.
So there's an entire generation who's grown up getting the weather from you.
And while that's an honor, it also makes me feel incredibly old. I have had a lot of kids recently coming like, I grew up, grown people. So, Hilarious Scales, Hood News 75.
Yes.
I met him the other day, and he was like, I grew up watching you. And I was like, you are a grown man, but thank you so much. That really means a lot to me. And I had another one where I was at a doctor's office, and the nurse was like, oh, you spoke to my class. I was like, oh, when did you get out of teaching? She goes, no, I was a second grader. I was like, oh. So it's yes, at least a generation of children have grown up with me as their morning meteorologist.
I was talking to my wife about something, and she goes, don't you remember doing that in fourth grade? And I said, do you know how long ago fourth grade was?
A while ago, yes.
Like, my kids were asking me something as I was driving, and they go, how do you know how to do this? I was like, because I've been driving longer than I've not been driving at this point. And
yep.
I don't feel like, I don't know, Mitch, what kind of driver are you? Are you a good driver?
I like to think I am.
Okay, I was going to say, I never feel like you ever become a really great driver.
But my kids are old enough now that now they're paying attention. So my son's older. He's about to turn 13. My daughter just turned 11. She's the one who's like, hey, Mom, shouldn't you have turned your blinker on earlier for that lane change? Like, she's very interested and she's analyzing. So she thinks I'm a horrendous driver. My son, he hasn't paid enough attention yet to know.
Do you remember in driver's ed, driving school, whatever, that there were like metrics for when you were supposed to turn the turn signal on?
Oh, goodness.
Like you were like, I don't know if they're real or not, but it's like on the interstate when you see it's like exit quarter mile, you like based on the speed, you're supposed to turn your turn signal on then. I don't know if that's true or not.
But your instructor told you that which is fine. Yeah.
I think.
Well, you also do a lot of driving in the car with your parents. So I remember on my driver's test, went up to a red light, scooted, looked, and continued, and, took my right on red.
Yeah.
And immediately the driver instructor said, now pull back into the lot. And I was like, wow. He goes, well, you just failed. And I said, why? She goes, well, I was like, it was right on red. She goes, but you need to come to a complete stop and roll back.
Yep.
I was like, but my mom and dad do that all the time. And she laughed. She goes, I'm sure they do, but you still failed. Come back in 2 weeks.
I had a friend who failed his test because of a rolling stop.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a twin brother, so we took our tests back to back, and my mom was freaking out that one of us would pass and the other wouldn't. And fortunately, we both passed. But I remember doing the parallel park on the gravel drive next to someone's barn. Like, that's where I grew up. That's where we learned to drive. All right, so your meteorological career is old enough to drive. Old enough to drink at this point.
I'm waiting for the day my Channel 5 career is old enough to drink. I was thinking about that this morning, like, 19 years. Okay, two more. But yeah, it's been a couple of decades.
Yeah, let's knock it off with the cakes. Let's get something a little stronger. So,
I mean, once I get there, yes.
Because Channel 5 is most accurate. How many years now in a row?
14.
14. Wow.
14
Congrats.
years most accurate. Yes.
Yeah. What's the secret sauce? What do you think it is?
Oof. Goodness. That's hard. Not going crazy about everything.
Intangibles. It's like an athlete. It's the intangibles that make you great.
And we've got a really good team. Like, we kind of keep each other in check, and we have a lot of conversations over everything. So the most accurate is actually a independent company, and they check the forecast every single day. And it's high temperature, low temperature? Did it rain? Was there severe weather? And you said there was or wasn't going to be. Snowfall amounts, all that kind of stuff. And it's like golf, lowest score wins. So we do our best to try to be dead on with what's actually going to happen.
Do you get individual scores on the staff?
We do not. It is only a staff score. It is only a staff. But there have been times back in the day, and now this is an old school WLWT reference, but we had a chief meteorologist, Derek Beasley, and the theme was Derek said it would. It was a whole campaign, and sometimes there are disagreements, right? You can give everybody the same data from weather models. You're looking at the same things, but you give that same information to every Met in town, and we're all going to give you slightly different forecasts. So between the morning Met at the time, which wasn't me, I was still weekends at the time, and the evening Met, they would leave each other little Post-it notes. I think this is going to happen. I think you're too high here. You're too low here. Blah blah blah. I think it was an election day forecast, and so they bet $1 on it, and the chief overruled the morning Met because they were the chief, and whatever happened, the morning meteorologist forecast was right. So we took the $1 and we framed it and put it on the wall.
That's amazing.
Yes.
That's great.
And then when Derek left, he took the framed $1. That's our $1. We earned that $1.
Yeah,
right. That's
you
not your
lost
$1.
that $1.
Correct.
You don't get it back.
Take it back. Man.
What accuracy score would you give the film Twister?
No, I haven't seen the second one. I know that's
Have you not?
I know.
It's fun. It's a ride.
I know. I mean, fun scale, I would give it an A. Accuracy, a C. It depends.
What's the most ridiculous part of Twister for you?
I mean, them just reading it's going green. They're
Green?
what are you? What are you talking about? They're reading things that aren't there.
True story. I've DM'd you Greenwich, right? From Twister. Right?
I think you have actually.
I've DM'd you the least accurate part of the film Twister. More inaccurate than cows.
Well, I mean, because that happens. Oh, for sure, stuff gets picked up, right? There are stories of tornadoes going over frog ponds and throwing frogs at the next town over. So stuff gets picked up and it has to go somewhere. Vehicles, cows, frogs.
Can you imagine being that cow that survives that and it just
real confused,
trying to tell other cows that, and they're like, no
way, man.
And then, but also you become this cow legend,
absolutely.
Right?
I always think of that as well. When a bug gets in your car and you go on a long road trip, how'd they get there? They don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's also probably wildly inconvenient for them. That is such a that's such a far distance.
Very disorienting.
All right. So you were a meteorologist.
Mm-hmm.
What is the difference? And I'm going to tie Twister in to this also.
No. I should have watched it recently so I can have better references.
You don't just have it top of mind.
I mean, go ahead. Continue.
There's a joke where they call him a weatherman and not a meteorologist. What's the difference between the two? And is that a meteorological slur?
So the bigger one is people call female meteorologists weather girls all the time. No one ever calls them a weather boy. 0% of the time are they like, hey, weather boy. So, but the difference is the
degree.
degree.
Adam would be a great weather boy. I think he would lean into it in a really fun way.
Oh, there are some that would be all about it, but yes.
But
yeah.
You're absolutely right.
The difference is the degree. So you have to have a meteorology degree, major in college, or take all of the coursework that, all differential equations and all the fun stuff to learn what happens in the clouds. And you have to learn it in college and then never use that, as usual,
right.
Learn a bunch of stuff that you will never use again. Some stuff's very important, but a lot of it is, I don't need calculus on a daily basis.
Yeah, there's weather math.
There's weather math.
Is there some job out there that is using the weather math?
I'm sure there is. It is not mine. It is the person who perhaps does the modeling. It's not us. We have to pass it.
You have a great meteorology question.
Uh-oh.
What is meteorology and why is it not the study of meteors?
Right. Well, meteor is anything that falls from the sky. So technically, raindrops, snowflakes, hail, but also, whatever else falls from the sky.
So also meteors. Okay.
So also meteors. But I don't focus on those.
What is there ever a point where a meteor falling to Earth is in the forecast? Can you ever foresee?
I mean, I typically would, defer to Dean Regas on all of those questions and tell us when you're going to have that kind of problem. But yeah, that's one of the weird things about, meteorology. It's a specialized science, but in the newsroom, you're the station scientist. Is there a story about bugs? You're the scientist. Do the story on bugs. You have to be a jack of all trades of all things that could be tangent to science as a
Well,
meteorologist.
We've had chefs on before, and it is, Chef Megan said, well, I'm not a pastry chef, so I can't speak to that directly. So there is, different differentiations. But
Oh, yeah.
there's also just the ability to study, to research. Science is different. So
And be able to, like, break it down.
right.
Because you can know all the important stuff that's behind, in my job, the weather. But if I show you all of the maps on air at 4:30 in the morning, none of that's going to process, right? You haven't had coffee yet. So the whole job is to take the science that you learned for years in school and then make it more digestible to a person. So making science normal. To go back to your chef, I use food analogies a ton.
It's because everyone knows food. Everyone
Exactly.
eats food.
Yes.
I use sports analogies, and it one of our VPs, she is a big Shakespeare nerd and does not understand the sports ball, as she says. So I'm trying to think of different analogies so I don't have to.
Shakespearean analogies, because I would have no clue.
I'm not good at them.
Oh.
I'll tell you that much. So 4:30 in the morning. That's when
We're on the air.
That's when you're on the air.
Yes.
What's your morning look like? What's a typical morning look like? Like, when are you waking up? When are you getting to the station?
Okay, so a normal weather day, which, we've had so many normal weather days around here. Normal weather day, I am up at 2 o'clock in the morning, Monday through Friday. Yeah, it's fun.
So what time do you go to bed?
Okay, so the goal is 7:30.
No kidding.
It does not happen. I mean, my kids are, 11 and going on 13. So
Right.
we are right in all the sport. They each play 2 to 3 sports at any particular season. So like last night, I'm at a baseball game until 8 o'clock at night.
Right.
So that doesn't happen. But usually my husband will be like, why are you still awake? If I am awake at 8 o'clock and just sitting there at home.
Right.
So 7:30 is the goal. 8 o'clock is probably a more realistic goal. 8:30 is probably more typical, and 9 o'clock is bad.
9 o'clock is bad. Okay.
That's happened once or twice this week, unfortunately.
So what keeps you going? A lot of coffee?
I have coffee in the morning for sure, and I do nap every day
That's
after
good.
work, which is important. I wasn't doing that for a while, and I was having a lot of like memory issues and stuff because when I had the little ones, when they were little, when they were, 1 and 3, that's nonstop, right? I get
Right.
home from work and you're just doing the mom thing, and I was not sleeping very well, and I had a newborn, so yeah, I was having memory issues, and I had to go to the boss and say hi. I went to my doctor and I told them I was having these problems, and they said, you either have a brain tumor or you're chronically sleep deprived. So they scanned my brain, wasn't that, but they're like, you need to figure out a way to sleep. So that's how I got off the noon news, actually, is I went to the boss and I said, so I need to sleep. Please let me leave at 11.
Right.
So that's it. So my normal day is up at 2 a.m., leave home at 2:30, at work before 3, roll into the newsroom and immediately talk to the producers. We talk about, if it's a weather impact day or not. And that goes with the amount of time I will need for a first weather, for a tease at the end of a block, for a full weather, or on crazy weather days where I know I'm just going to basically
Just live there.
my face is on your TV the whole morning. Yeah, so we talk about that. Then I go upstairs and do all my forecasting. I'll look at any notes that Kevin has left from the night before. We have a nice big clipboard. We're old school, and I look at all the upper air charts. I look at all the any other weather model information. And I put together my own forecast. So that can take, on a good day, 30 minutes. On a complicated day, 45 minutes, an hour. So yeah.
I think this is a misconception for people. And also, as of the time of the recording, it's 9:57 a.m. on a Tuesday. So you've been up and at it for a while.
I've been awake for a long time, yes.
Just to contextualize this. But I think some people have the misconception that you're served the forecast and you're just
I'm just relaying it, right? And
You're
that
just
was the case.
green screening it.
No, it's all us. We do our own forecasting for every shift, and I think that was the case back in the day. If you look at the history of meteorology, the first television meteorologists were military men because that's who was trained in meteorology, right? People, aviation experts, and that kind of thing. So the first meteorologists on TV were typically military, which is great, but then has a very military delivery, right? And then there was a huge backlash, and then you had the quote, the weather bunny era where it was people had no idea what they were talking about, but they would keep doing it. And that was just someone who would rip the National Weather Service forecast, hand it to them, and they would read it. Now you actually need the ability to mesh the two, right? You have to have the science background and also the ability to deliver it in a approachable way.
when you're looking at these models, is it like it's one of these 4 or 5 things is probable to happen today, and you're kind of combining them all or looking for patterns? It's kind of
all
like
the same. Yeah, you're looking for trends. You're looking for, since I've been here for 20 years. I kind of know how these things, how different systems tend to play out. How some model tends to overplay snow in the 2 days before a snowstorm happens, that kind of thing. So you use your knowledge of the area, and then also just looking at trends, looking to see timing can change. A lot of things can change sometimes as the storm is coming in.
Would meteorologists make great sports coaches? Because this is what a defensive coordinator does. They look and they say, when they get to the 15-yard line,
this is the most likely scenario.
This is the most likely scenario. This is where they'd like to go to, so we're going to play this. And of course, every now and then, that's going to break, and they're
100%.
not going to do that.
Yeah.
But that's what you're looking for patterns. You're looking for kind of. Sometimes you're kind of scrapping the weird aberrations and
the
saying,
outliers,
what
right? And occasionally the outlier is correct, right? Because sometimes they'll run a trick play that you've never seen before. They'll line up in a formation that you've never seen.
Yeah, cumulonimbus getting real wily
watch
up
out
there.
For that. Exactly. But I love the defensive coordinator analogy because I'm married to a football coach, so we do the sports analogies all the time too.
He's a football meteorologist. So
exactly. Yes.
Being most accurate, I think. The challenge is you want to be as accurate as possible, but also prepare people as much as possible. So you don't want to say, listen, it's that time of year, a tornado could pop up anytime. They're like, today though? And
right.
You're like, well, no, not any and every day.
Yeah.
But I think people see, there's a minimal threat for tornadoes today. And it doesn't happen, and people are like, I thought they were going to be cool, crazy storms. It's like, well, you have to be prepared, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and you have to talk about most likely scenario, obviously, and give you the possible outcomes. And what I think is great, a lot of times we will have storm threat maps that come out, and our area is under a moderate risk or whatever. And the Storm Prediction Center is in Norman, Oklahoma. It's not us. That's what puts those maps out, and we have ideas of whether or not any particular storm will produce severe weather, big storms, tornadoes, whatever. So you have to, convey uncertainty in your forecast as well. Like there's a lot of times where these things are conditional, meaning, if we have morning storms and those clouds stick around at lunchtime, then the big storms that were projected in the afternoon might be run of the mill, right? And that happens a lot for us where there's the possibility if morning stuff kind of fizzles early and the sun comes out and the atmosphere gets all juiced up, all of a sudden the afternoon storms are crazy and you're seeing severe weather and damage and stuff like that. So some of them you have to convey the conditional aspect of the forecast along with it. But also, then you also get the people who are mad that it didn't happen. And you're like, would you have rather had someone's house destroyed by a tornado? The possibility was there. It happened. Just a couple weeks ago, we had it. Southern Kentucky got hit really hard. We didn't get anything here, and people are like, "Well, you got it wrong." And I was like, "Well, the conditions were right for it. We had the morning stuff that kind of helped us out. We didn't see really severe weather, but had that morning stuff not happened, we could have been right in the thick of it."
Right. Everything's dynamic. Things are changing
all the time. That's why we have weather balloons that go up a couple times a day. To measure the instability of the atmosphere, what's going on, because we can't see it, right? Between the ground and the clouds, a lot can change, and there could be, layers of warm air that we don't know about that'll help enhance instability, or in a winter storm. A lot of times we'll have a winter storm coming in, and as it's rolling in, we're like, all right, it's all cold air, but there's a nose of warm air somewhere, and that'll change us into sleet. There were a couple of years where we had busted big snows because a little nose of warm air that kind of turned everything over to sleet for a few hours, and then all of a sudden you don't get 7 inches of snow, you get 3 inches of sleet. And you're like, busted.
Right. And kids are mad at you because they've got to go to school.
I'm mad at me.
Right?
It's okay. Yeah, I get that. We try our best to, we tell the truth in the forecast, and sometimes there's uncertainty in it.
Everything you just said, it really, I'm realizing this now. It used to be, especially on social media, you would look and 5 would just post, here's the 3-day forecast or something. Mm-hmm. It's just a graphic. Mm-hmm. Now it's much more, it's posting you. It's posting you talking about it, because it's not just there's a 40% chance of rain today or something like that. It is, follow along with me. If you see this is what could happen, like if A, then B, boom, boom, boom.
Right.
If C, then boom, boom, boom.
Yeah,
It
because if you
is-
just look at a graphic, there's interpretation, right? Or I even had somebody the other day email. It was a great email because on the bottom of our screen, you have the ticker, right, with the 7-day. And they were like, well, it didn't really exactly match the 7-day. I said, well, my choices in the ticker are rain, no rain. Like my
Right.
icons are very limited on the thing that just scrolls around on the bottom versus a 7-day where we can give you a little bit more information, either a timeline for it or whatever it is.
Yeah, the logic to it, the like pattern, the like
We can we do
choose
a
your
lot
own
more.
adventure.
Yeah, right. Because a lot can be up to interpretation, or people think that the app on their phone, to the minute, is correct,
Right.
which is most of the apps on your phone are just model data, one model plopped out there, so it can change wildly. And sometimes we get a lot of screenshots of people's phones. I never use the app that comes on my iPhone. I don't look at it, but I'll get screenshots and be like, oh, is that from the iPhone? Is that what it's saying? I don't know, because I'm doing my forecasting, utilizing knowledge versus just whatever model it happens to be favoring.
You're not standing there in your kitchen at 6 p.m. or something, an hour and a half before you're going to bed, and it starts to rain. You're like, booyah, got it.
I absolutely do that.
Do you?
I mean, if I nail a forecast, I get really excited, for sure. I also get really bummed out when we miss it because it's all part of the job.
Have you seen weather patterns change, like as we see climate change and
Absolutely.
the effects of that? Have you seen that change? Does that make your job more difficult, or is it something where it's, I want to say, a slow change? I know the science is that's all happening very rapidly, but people always say, what do you mean global warming? It's freezing out right now. It's like,
Right.
okay, climate, weather, different, but like, is
Right.
that making your job more difficult, or is it just you're retraining yourself?
And that's
along?
it. You have to keep on learning because in our changing climate, extremes become more common. If you notice, the weather's gotten weirder more often. And like that's actually a good conversation starter for people who are like, global warming, but it's cold. But have you noticed things are weirder a lot more often? Extremes become common. So, hurricanes, we might get the same number, but they're going to get stronger faster. That kind of thing. We get more days with heavy rainfall than we've had before versus like light little sprinkles. Now we get downpours. Now, we're setting records for rainfall on a monthly basis. So all of that changes, and people do notice that because that affects your daily life. Like, you've got kids that have, I've coached softball. I coached my daughter's 10U softball team, and I think we were able to practice on dirt like twice because the field's underwater the whole time. It's been raining a ton this spring. So anecdotally, you're like, hey, it has been raining a lot, and it's been raining pretty hard, actually. That's a way to communicate that things are changing.
People have such a myopic view. They know what's happening in their neighborhood or at their house.
Yes.
And they're saying, we've gotten 8 inches. I don't know what a normal amount of rain in a month is.
Like we're
got
in
8
the
inches
spring,
of
so like
rain.
3-4 inches is probably where we need to be. But yeah,
But we've gotten 6 or 7 inches of rain this month, and you're telling me that there's drought. That's great. Well, it's climate change is also shifting patterns. So
100%.
It's that.
Have
that
you
difference.
noticed that, like, okay, football, what you were thinking of high school football weather is not what high school football weather is anymore, right? Like, you can wear shorts and maybe a jacket by week 9 and 10. When a couple decades ago, week 9 and 10, it was
freezing. Yes.
freezing. Yes. So things are definitely shifting. You'll notice we get more of our snow. January, February. It's not coming November, December. Our Decembers are pretty. I mean, we've had a couple obviously outliers, but everything it's late in the winter. Late. I'm giving air quotes because that works on a podcast.
Yeah.
Air quotes. Late winter.
We'll put a little air. We need an air quote sound.
A sound. Yes.
I'll have to work on that.
We'll have a podcast key at the beginning.
Perfect.
What's your Super Bowl from a weather event? Like you're in studio. Like you're like, all right, this is it. This is what we train for.
Obviously severe weather is its own game plan because that is as the storm's coming in, right? And you're analyzing the data as the radar is sweeping by and the new numbers are coming in. So that one is the Super Bowl of weather. However, forecasting wise, a winter storm, man.
Yeah.
I love forecasting winter storms. and we're all looking at the other stations to see what map they put up, and how much they think is going to happen versus how much we think is going to happen. And for me, it is properly forecasting a winter storm with the timing, the totals, how it progresses. Like when I nail one of those, that's huge.
Is Kevin coming in with a Gatorade shower? Like,
so there was
Kelly
one,
and Steven just dumping
a couple winters ago. We hit blizzard criteria, and it was like 2:00 in the morning, right? And it's just me and Kevin in the weather center, and we absolutely, it was like a World Series Game 7. Like we're jumping up and down. It's 2:00 in the morning. No one's out on the roads. But it was for us, like actually hitting the proper criteria for a blizzard was pretty awesome because we called it.
Do you ever get tempted to look at what other stations are putting up in, to be contrarian or to not go along with it?
No,
or
we just
are you
like
just
looking at
trying
theirs.
to? Yeah.
Right. Yeah, we're always going to do what we think is best, and we have a constant group chat at all. Like obviously when big weather happens, but it's goes for silly day-to-day things too. But we always will go with what we think is best, and then we'll critique what the other people say. But we will, we'll just kind of see what they say as well. But we always stick to ours.
How about just a plain old weather day? Today, as we're recording, it's like mid-high 80s, sunny, just
it's lovely. I like quiet days.
Is that just like an easy day, just go through the motions, all right? Or does it become difficult because you're like, what do I even say about today?
The problem is when you get like a stretch of that, right? Because then you're like, how do I tease that? How do I write a headline for myself that makes sunny and 80 degrees again sound awesome? And you that's actually the hard part, is when you get like a big old area of high pressure that's not moving. And while, again, you're getting lovely sunshine for days, it's just boring.
Yeah. Same way.
Boring isn't. Boring's fun in small spurts.
What is your Mount Rushmore of weather phenomenon?
Oh goodness, Mount Rushmore of weather phenomenon.
And it doesn't have to be something that you've covered or experienced, but just out there in the world.
I mean, thunder snow's pretty cool,
yeah.
Right? Let's see. Yeah, I think it's blizzard. It's thunder snow. It's. I mean, I don't want to say an EF5 tornado, but they're pretty cool, right? If they don't hit anything.
If it's just like
in
out
land.
there and just
and
open
that's the
land.
hard
right.
part about all of this, is because a lot of people are really into weather and they love extreme weather. But as a meteorologist, I'm thinking of the people that are impacted by the weather. And I think that changes for a lot of people. There are a lot of kids that are like super into crazy weather, especially with our new YouTube generation. They can watch storm chasers and people going crazy. But then you also think of, I don't like forecasting big time tornadic events, because the impacts that are going to happen.
Right.
And, once you've been there on the ground the morning after a tornado hits and you see what, these people just walking around bewildered as to what's going on, trying to pick up pieces of their life. Like I never like forecasting things like big tornadic events, because there's a real life consequence to all of those.
What about you've got one?
Oh, I got
Mount
one more.
Rushmore.
I got one more.
What about 80 degrees, no humidity?
Oh, I can do that.
On August
I can do
1st.
good weather.
Yeah, sure.
Man. Oh, well, then that changes everything. Okay, I want 70 degrees and sunshine on opening day. Does that count?
Can
I make that?
Counts.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good. See, yeah, I thought it was like crazy weather.
It can
No.
be anything.
I like a nice fall afternoon would be great then. I'll take away some of the severe weather off of that thing and just make a nice boring day. One or two of them.
So you've talked a little bit about weather events that you think are interesting or cool.
Mm-hmm.
What got you into meteorology? Have you always loved interesting weather?
So I took kind of a different path into meteorology. Growing up, my grandfather was an aviator, navigator in World War II. So he had a barometer next to the door. And I'd go over Grandma and Grandpa's house, and every time Grandpa Henderson walked out the door, he'd look at the barometer and be like, oh, it's going to be sunny. And I'm looking at this thing going like, how does that tell you what the weather's going to be? Now, kids today have many things that will tell them that are, like the home devices and the Nest devices and the Alexas or whatever. That'll tell them exactly what's going to happen. But back in the day, it was legitimately just this intricate wooden barometer that was on the wall. And I was like, what are you talking about? And he's like, well, it's about the pressure, and, high pressure, things are going to quiet down, low pressure, it's going to get worse. I'm like, I don't know about that, Grandpa. So I would compare what Grandpa was saying as he walked out the door to what the meteorologists on TV were saying. And then I started watching TV meteorologist just to see. And a lot of it comes back to sports because I want to know, was it going to be really cold for football or baseball or whatever? And then as I got into high school, I was able to job shadow at a TV station, and I shadowed the meteorologist. I saw the green screen, thought that was pretty cool. I enjoyed that what they did was kind of ad lib, but I still went to Ohio University initially thinking I was going to come out of this as like the next Jim Day, right? I was going to be a sideline reporter for baseball. That was my either college football sideline reporter or MLB in dugout report. Like that was my goal. So I went there to Ohio University for broadcast news, meteorology, and a specialization in sports journalism. And I did all of that. And then when I left college, I had 2 tapes. And yes, they were VHS tapes because we are going back and doing the math. It was VHS era. One was sports and one was weather. And I just sent them out into the world. And I was like, whichever one happens.
That's what, yeah.
And I got a job offer for a weather position in Mississippi 2 weeks before graduation. And then immediately enrolled into grad school to officially become a meteorologist.
And so weather won out.
Weather won out.
Do you ever want to dabble? Do you ever like?
I mean, they
why
kind of
not
cross paths
job
for me,
swap?
right? That would be so much fun.
That'd be so fun.
And my favorite day of the year is opening day. I love doing anything sports. I still do. It's how I grew up, right? I played softball at Ohio University. Like I married a college wrestler. We are a sports family through and through.
Did you have a nickname in college?
I did not.
No.
Well, I mean, Reeks.
Reeks?
Yeah.
It wasn't
Rico
like
Reeks.
you weren't just like ripping dingers and it was like Reek the Freak up and back.
No, just Reeks, which just makes it sound like I smell, which is fine. That's okay.
That's such a hockey nickname too. Like hockey players have the worst nicknames.
Right, it's not even a good one.
It's like Reeks. It's like Sipes. It's just shortened last name with an S.
Absolutely. Yes. Oh well. But yeah, sports was my initial goal. But I love what I do, and I see what the sports people have to do as well, and I'm like, oh well, it's nice to. The hours are drastically different from sports people to weather people. We are like ships passing in the night. Sometimes I'll see Charlie Clifford, our sports director, at 2:00 in the morning because he's still in there, editing highlights together when I roll in the morning.
But I think that's kind of a great skill for you because doing morning news, doing the morning weather, for a lot of parents like a lot of sports parents, it does matter because you're thinking, okay, there's a baseball game tonight. Do I need to pack a long sleeve, long sleeves for it? What do I need to wear? Like, what do the kids need?
Am I dropping off kid number 1 at the softball field, and by the time I get kid number 2 to the soccer field, there's lightning, and so there's a delay at both, and now I got to get in both. That is a absolute. I think being a mom made me a better meteorologist because I'm thinking of all of those things all the time. It's not just me and my day. It's all the other working pieces and parts of the family and how they're getting to where they're going and will they be safe getting there. I get a lot of calls, like, when we're talking about snow days, which is super fun to forecast. But I mean, in the educational world, you also have to think about you have 16-year-old drivers who are potentially in the snow. And while it may not be 6 inches of snow, if it's slick out there, you've got a 16-year-old with a bunch of other 16-year-olds on the road. There's a lot of things that go into that. So I really focus my forecast on impact on your life. Big impact, low impact. Like there are meteorologists that are very focused. Like, well, it's not a severe weather day. I'm like, I don't care if there's lightning. That's gonna mess up your family's plan for the evening, right? So it doesn't have to be a severe storm capable of producing a tornado for it to be a big old problem for what you have on the family's calendar that day. And so I try to focus my forecasts on impact on everybody.
I think 2 groups, and the longer I think about it, there's probably a dozen others. But parents, and especially like sports parents, like really weather dependent. Farmers too.
100%.
But I think farmers are kind of, depending on the time of year and what they're doing, they're kind of looking at the long scale. But I would remember I grew up on a farm and we would bale hay, and it's like, when is it going to rain? And what point in the day you need to get to where the dew is burned off. But you can still get it done before that like afternoon summer thunderstorm comes in, and it's not going to. So I remember standing in the barn a lot as a kid, either watching it rain like across the field or just standing there looking up at the sky. And I'm like, you guys don't know.
And my father-in-law is a farm kid, so he will still text me from the tractor. and be like, hey, we need to get whatever it is done, whatever they're doing. And he's like, check the radar. Let me know, like, how long do we have to get this done? And that's just on a daily forecast. But like I had an email conversation with a farmer in the area last month when we were going through all of the crazy rain, and they needed a decent dry stretch to get out there and do whatever they need to do in the fields. And I was like, I don't see that for you in the next, couple of weeks. It's rough. And their livelihood depends on the crazy, weird weather that we're seeing.
A lot of people view weather as an inconvenience, or like, oh, we're going to go to the pool today, but it's 68 degrees in June, or, the humidity is so high, it's so hot, I'm going to sweat walking to work or something like that. I mean, a lot of people just view it as, am I going to be inconvenienced by the weather today? But to your point, it is a livelihood for a lot of people as well.
Everyone's invested in weather, some more thoroughly than others, for sure.
Well, and I mean, even in our industry with museums, so it's summer now. When it is super hot, people don't want to go to the zoo. They don't want to bake on the blacktop at Kings Island, right? But if it's a nice day, they also don't necessarily want to be inside. If it rains, they want to be inside. So, but as weather shifts and as winters, for example, get warmer, and so now it's 60 degrees in December, why would I spend the day inside when I can go outside, see the lights at the zoo and 60. Not have to bundle up? Like that stuff, it's amazing the economics of all of that as well. And I feel for people that do have very weather. I've even had like coffee shops like, hey, when it's nice weather, people walk up to the coffee window a lot more. And like, it's amazing how weather does impact people's personal economy, businesses, all of that. And whether it's deciding whether to hold a concert or not at the stadium, or, I get every time there's rain in the forecast, you think the Reds are going to play? I probably get 25 messages, right? And sometimes it's people at the Reds asking the same question. So it's very interesting because everyone has different factors that not everybody considers. It's wild in 2025 when we have so much control over so many things right. that we still cannot control the weather. Nope. And so it doesn't matter if you're the Reds, if you're the Yankees, if you're the Dodgers, whoever, like rain's going to get you one way or another. It doesn't matter. Oh my gosh, this is a huge series and we really need this game and we got the guys amped up and it rains out, or first pitch is not at 6:40. It's now going to be at 9:20. Yeah, how about the one a couple weeks ago? The Reds moved that game up, which was great. Right. Obviously that inconveniences people who were planning on getting off of work and getting there, but they got the whole game in before any thunderstorms were in the area. That was the same night as the TQL Stadium Zach Brown concert that got postponed because of it. But going into it, you're looking at the forecast and you're looking at the likelihood of being able to have your act on stage for 90 minutes plus without lightning delays every 15 minutes. You know, like that's no fun for everybody. Buying $18 beers in the concourse for 3.5 hours in a rain delay, So there's a lot of factors that go into the weather. But yeah, we can't control it. We just have to do our best to forecast it and stay ahead of it, which is, why we continue to learn more about how we do our job. So we've been dabbling, we've been dancing around sports a little bit. Yeah. We're coming back to Mount Rushmore. Your Mount Rushmore of like sporting events that you've not gotten to experience that you want to. Yes. I would love to see the Cincinnati Reds in a World Series. I have not seen that personally. You grew up around Cleveland, though. So what's it like being a Cincinnati fan now? It's super fun. Is it easy? Yeah. Was it easy to jump ship on Cleveland? I held on to my Indians fandom a little bit longer than my Browns fandom. I know, and people will blow me up on this. And because you would have grown up when the Browns left town. Correct. Right? Which made it easy to then not re-become a fan. Because it's tough, because there's that period there where if you're a football fan, you're going to be a fan of someone, and now the Browns come back in, you're like, I don't know any of these guys. I don't have any attachment. I was in high school, and then I left, right? And in meteorology, you take a job. I took my job in Mississippi. I did not make enough money for cable. So I was not able to keep, and the internet wasn't, I'm so old, the internet wasn't a thing, right? You couldn't stream things. I couldn't keep up with my hometown teams anyway. You weren't just spending time in the studio and using that to dial in all the information. No. So I grew up east side of Cleveland.
I grew up an Indians fan and a Browns fan, and then I moved here. We definitely had a split household for a while. My husband's a born Reds and Bengals fan. But yeah, the Browns went away. They came back. They made questionable decisions, which I think people can say about a lot of organizations, but really. And then once the Bengals drafted Joe Burrow, that's what flipped me.
Just like solidified.
I mean, as Ohio University girl, he's an Athens kid. Like I was like, all right. And at the time, the Browns were not making the correct decisions in their quarterback decisions as well. So, but the Reds, it was easy because they play each other in one series a year, right? So for a while, I was kind of like able to cheer for both. But I have so much access here, and I'm covering them every day. And I fell in love with the Reds organization.
At this point, more of your life has been in Cincinnati than not,
correct.
right? So
yeah, I mean, when I moved away to college, for all intents and purposes, I never went back, right? So at 18 years old, I left, and then I'm more than. If you take 18 times 2, I'm definitely more than that. So I've spent more time here in Reds and Bengals country for sure.
All right.
What are
the other three Mount Rushmores?
I want to see the Reds in a World Series. I would like to, obviously, Bengals Super Bowl would be lovely, and I would love to go to the Women's College World Series.
Where's that held? Does that move around,
Oklahoma.
or is it the same? Is it always in Oklahoma?
Yes.
Isn't Oklahoma always like
tornado-y?
Tornado-y, but isn't University of Oklahoma typically
they're typically pretty good
in there?
Yes, they are typically in the mix.
In UCLA, like my Sports Center targeting has ingrained that in my head.
Yeah, UCLA has always been pretty good. Oklahoma, I mean, this year it's the Texas teams, but I would love to watch that at the highest level in person for sure. Let's see, what else do I want to do? I mean, I put in for my tickets to the Masters. Does that count?
Yeah, absolutely.
As we all do. I'm never getting drawn. I'd love to go see an Olympics in person.
Doesn't WLWT usually send people?
Team.
Why not?
I know.
Wait, do you know how
producers.
many winter events are outdoor related? What if it's warm in the alpine areas?
Yes. Or I could have gone to Tahiti for the surfing last time. You know, I could have
you
easily.
and Colin Jost, right? I think that's where they sent him.
He was an excellent correspondent out
there.
there.
But you can, I mean, listen. You can say, okay, it's downhill. It's been a little warm, so the track is going to be slower. But this person trains trains on slower tracks. I think they've got an edge. Mm-hmm. Who else is going to do that?
So years and years ago, I have a friend who works at ESPN, and I was pitching. I was like, you probably need a staff meteorologist, especially now in the betting days. Like, weather impacts all of that too, right? And the forecast could easily impact home run balls, or whether a team's going to go with their run game or their pass game in football. Like all of those things. Kentucky Derby. Right. 8 inches of mud. That slows down horses, I think. I don't know. I pitched her. I was like, you probably need a weather expert up there. Didn't happen, but Not yet.
All right. So I have a couple museum related questions.
Ooh.
One, if you could design your own museum exhibit, what would you design? What would it be around?
Ooh.
It could be anything.
I know. I would probably go food.
Yeah?
I love food stuff. Science of food.
We have a culinary lab,
culinary
studio. And
you do.
We've done some very cool things. We've done some very dumb things in there too.
That's science, isn't it? That's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
Do dumb things. Hope stuff doesn't blow up, or blows up if you want it to.
It's
important.
It's awesome because they'll use dry ice and they'll make ice cream with that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's cool because they're pulling history into it as well. So we had 1950s Day, and like Jello molds were a thing.
Absolutely.
And we learned it's because you need refrigeration for that. And so people would put these Jello molds out at parties, and no one would really eat them. But it's kind of a flex that's like, you can't see it, but I have a refrigerator.
Just so you know.
And we made a Skyline Jello mold.
I think I saw that.
And I cannot believe they didn't walk it up here, because I would absolutely be in it. It would probably be very gross.
I bet Megan will whip one up for you.
Come on. We also do one of our museum camps in the summer. We do a couple for kids where they get to go in and they spend the whole week cooking stuff. Like they'll make sushi and they'll bake a cake from scratch, let it cool, and they'll come back and decorate it nice and everything. It's awesome. So what's your food exhibit include? What's it around? Is it like Cincinnati foods, or is it just random weird like fermentation and other food?
And that's kind of a thing.
Terms?
It ties in all my things, right? Because I like weather, I like food, but I also enjoy, like beer and bourbon, and all of those have sciences involved in the making of all those things. So maybe that's the focus. Maybe the science of you got excited there.
I did, but it's unrelated.
Okay.
Kind of.
But no, just the science of all of that would be pretty cool.
How many brats did you eat?
That's a great question.
And did you beat Joey Chestnut?
There's absolutely no way.
No?
Okay. So, I was in the Bratwurst-Eating Contest at Oktoberfest Zinzinnati. What year was that? I can't even remember what year it was. But for a full year, I was the 10th best bratwurst eater in the world. Because it was the World Bratwurst-Eating Championships. Now, there were 11 people in the competition. One of them had a reversal of fortune.
Oh, no.
So, if you puke, you're out. So
someone puke, you're out. You can't even go you can't even go dog mode and eat it. And
you if it comes out, you can. If you just okay, some people are so grossed out by this. I love it. So if it comes out of your mouth, but you can grab it and throw it back in your mouth, then yes. But if it's liquefied on the floor, I don't think you're no one's lapping that up to beat Joey Chestnut, right? That's not a thing. I did, however, have a goal to beat the Lachey's, because the Lachey's were the celebrity, quote unquote, give my air quote sound, participants the year before, and I did beat them. So
did you?
Yes. I looked up whatever they had eaten, and I made sure I ate more.
So how many?
It was so many years ago. I think it was 6, 7. It was between 6 and 8. I can't remember exactly.
Are these Queen City or are these Johnsonville brats? Because they're different.
They were
like the white ones.
Yes. They were the bigger brats. They were not the pre-cooked. Yeah. And they were not warm. They were warm at one point. But by the time they're sitting on stage, they are.
What technique did you use? Did you dunk it in water? Or
there were no
just
buns. We didn't have buns.
Oh, no buns? Okay.
No buns. So that actually helped, because there was no dunking of the buns.
How'd you feel afterwards? Proud?
Absolutely proud. That is the overwhelming feeling of all of this. Yes. I mean, I still, had a couple of cream puffs at the Oktoberfest afterwards for sure, and had a couple of steins of beer for sure. Got to wash it all down.
But this is what people don't realize. When you show up to these things, that you're an athlete and you have that competitive edge. That,
absolutely.
You can get to a place that others are not willing to go to.
And
they know that when they stand next to you?
The problem with the brats is just the amount of chewing. The sheer amount of chewing. You can't do that fast enough if you're not trained at that. These people are competitive. They're athlete eaters for sure. The event at Oktoberfest that I do train for, because my competitive streak comes through, is the beer stein races. And I legitimately, in my driveway one year, set up 2 tables, and I do have the big, glass beer steins, grabbed 6 of them, filled them with water, and I was doing sprints in my drive. People who drove past my house were probably like, well, that's Randi. She's always a little weird, but racing beer steins down my driveway.
They have you all on billboards for being most accurate and all this stuff. Why are they not capitalizing on
that?
On the beer stein
I know.
greatness?
They should, right? They do show it every year, which is great. They do acknowledge it, but then we go right into weather forecasting.
Is that an event that you really look forward to every year?
Yes.
Yeah.
100%. Last couple of years in my sports mom era, I have been unable to participate last year because it was during a kids game.
Yeah.
Because it got moved Thursday at 5 p.m. And I'm like,
not helpful.
I'm real good at those 11th. My day, again, it is front end loaded. So when it was 11 or noon, I'm on it. Yeah. I am in my prime at 11 a.m. I have been awake forever. I am peak. Exactly. I'm ready to go. Later in the day, I shift into a slower mom mode, and I was definitely driving my kids to practice our game that day.
As you were training, did you have a clock like in your garage that had a countdown to Oktoberfest? Like,
Are you picturing a montage in your
yeah,
brain right now?
absolutely.
Of my kids like with the timer. Come on, Mom.
Like a German version of Eye of the Tiger.
And the every time I go into the dry cleaner to drop off my clothes, she's like, "Is it the dirndl yet? Like, is it Oktoberfest season?" Like, she looks forward to dry cleaning the beer-soaked dirndl at the end of the beer stein races.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So in addition to your Oktoberfest Burgermeistering, if you could have any job in the museum, what job would you want?
Ooh.
Are we hiring Mitch?
I was going to say, do I need to go on to Indeed real quick?
Yeah.
I mean, I am jealous seeing you on TV. When you show up in your wild costumes, you have the crazy hours too, sometimes.
Sometimes, yeah.
Sometimes I do love your job, but I would love, I know you guys do camps for kids in the summer. My favorite like auxiliary part of my job is doing crazy, messy weather experiments. So like, I know you guys do, you know, the leaf blower, toilet paper situation, like all of that kind of stuff. I would love to be the person who does like messy demos.
Yeah.
I want to be a messy demo person.
We do have a messy science camp.
Mm-hmm.
I think we need to get you a guest starring role. That'd be awesome.
Yes. So, and you were talking earlier, we were talking about the food and that you get to use the liquid nitrogen and all that kind of stuff. I desperately want to do a liquid nitrogen cloud and just blow up a garbage can full of, you know, ball crawl balls or something.
Yeah.
All that kind of stuff.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of our favorites here at Museum Center.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we'll have...
Yeah, schools don't like it when you roll in and mess up the classroom, but, you know, if we can go outside, let's get messy.
Oh, you could do that in a gym too, right?
Oh,
For sure.
and I did that. We have the WLWT Weather Roadshow now where I get to do kind of the bigger level experiments. It was super fun. And our first show this year was at Loveland Intermediate, which is where my husband's the assistant principal and both my kids go.
Nice.
So at the end of this, I was sitting there laughing because it looked like I threw a party. There was toilet paper everywhere. There were Solo cups on the ground because I made a smoke ring shooter with a big garbage can. So I was like hitting Solo cups off of kids' heads with like vortexes of smoke and... Look at there were, you know, I had brought in like balls of all sizes to show different hail. And so it looked like Randy came in here and threw a party in the gym. Yes, I did.
A little college party.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I know this will be right up your alley. What would your walk-up song be? And did you have one?
Oh, I can
Would
tell you
play
my walk-up songs. Yes. Okay. So, freshman year, my walk-up song was NSYNC Bye Bye Bye, which is funny because I'm a hard rock girl, but you know, you had dances and things to do in the dugout. So Bye 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 was my freshman year walk-up song. Sophomore year, I want to say it was Godsmack Whatever.
My brother had that CD.
Yes. My senior year was Seven Dust Home. Why am I'm forgetting my junior year walk-up song? It'll come to me. But yeah, I definitely went hard rock with all of that.
So now when there's a severe weather alert,
Yes.
when they break in, why can't they do a walk-up song for you?
They totally should. You're right. I know. There should be like some sort of or you're right. The WWE, like a ding, 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 like
Yes.
something's coming from the back.
Absolutely.
It would probably be a little less annoying than the usual, just, you know, the tones they have to play.
It could at least be like Milli Vanilli. It could be like CCR. What are some other
Rain-related things.
Yeah.
Blame It on the Rain is probably a very good one.
Yeah.
Actually, let's face it.
not a lot of snow like blizzard songs.
Yeah, weather-related
Wow.
songs. I mean, yeah, It's Raining Men gets a little
Yeah.
work as well.
I mean, if you were gonna get like
There's a lot of
5
hurricane
foot 10
songs
inches
now.
of rain or something.
That's true. There's a lot of like hurricane songs.
Yeah, get the Scorpions on there.
I think we need some of those. Yeah. I mean, hopefully we're not forecasting hurricanes here.
Is there a historic weather event that you like wish you had like gotten to witness or gotten to cover?
Oh, I don't know.
Because and again, there's that human aspect of it because you think
And that's the problem. It all seems awesome until you're actually there.
Yeah.
And then you're covering a storm and it's all adrenaline. And then afterwards,
it's just
exhaustion and tears is basically what happens. Because then like the full weight of what happened. And that the most recent one where I was on the ground during a bad storm was the Memorial Day tornadoes 2019 in Dayton. And that was a weird weekend because I did the American Ninja Warrior course on like Friday night, and then by Sunday night I was up in Dayton, with the storms coming through, or Monday night, Memorial Day. But yeah, it's a lot of doing your job, and then all of it hits you at the end. So I don't know what event I would want to have been there for.
How far did you make in the warrior course?
Let's not talk about that. I did not make it past the first obstacle.
How cold is the water?
It's really cold. It is not warm water. They don't heat those suckers. They fill them up and they let them sit. My kids were incredibly disappointed in me. They think my job is cool, but they were like, Mom! They were like poolside. They got splashed by me falling on my face. I made it on the little thing, and I jumped in, forgot to grab the rope.
You feel bad when you watch these people who train for this their whole year, like their whole lives.
Mm-hmm.
And they go and they do it, and it's just like one little slip up or something.
Oh, yeah.
And you're like, are you sure they shouldn't get best 2 out of 3, or is they get
right.
one mulligan or something?
You fall
Come
once
on.
and you're out. That's a lot of pressure. That
Yeah.
is a lot of pressure. And they don't let you try beforehand. When I jumped up there, this is your one go at it.
That's
This is it.
And that's the other thing, is you should at least get to play around on it afterwards or something. Like, when you guys are done filming, can I just try the other parts?
Absolutely not.
Nope, lock it down.
This is it. This is your one shot.
They wanted to film it here at Union Terminal, but they had I don't know if we were doing construction, but it's also a challenge because there's not a lot of super level ground. But I was like, I don't care, guys. Let's get some bulldozers. Let's figure it out. This would be awesome.
Okay. What about the NFL draft? What a beautiful background would this be for the NFL draft?
Absolutely. We had this big MLB All-Star event
Yes.
out front, so there's precedent for it. Let's go. When is it coming to Cincinnati?
Right.
It's
and the
beautiful here in
rotunda,
April, right?
For all the when all the guys who are gonna get picked are sitting there on the little couch, the rotunda would be beautiful for that. Come outside. I mean,
Browns and Giants fans, when you're disappointed in your pick, those boos are going to sound really great in a rotunda. So.
Exactly.
It seems like those fan bases are never happy with whoever they get, with whoever they pick. All right, last thing before we let you go, I know it's getting late in your
It's
your
almost
day.
nap time. Yes, my energy level is.
You're also involved with several charities and
Yes.
several kind of philanthropic causes. Do you want to shout out any of those or talk about some of the work you're doing on that front?
One of the charities I work with, the Cure Starts Now, that one came from a story. So back in my initial days at Channel 5, I did weekend morning weather, but also reported 3 days a week. And I remember the day that they sent me out, and it was like, hey, we want you to go pick up a VOSOT about a dude in a pizza contest. They're putting a new HVAC unit on the top of the police academy, and there's this family out in Wyoming who wrote a book about their daughter. And that was the only thing I was told. And I go and I sit down with the Desserick family, and they tell me their story of their daughter, Elena, who had DIPG, a incurable brain cancer, and how it slowly robs you of your ability to talk, walk, do all these things. And she loved drawing. So she made all these notes, and even though she was immobile, somehow hid them all over the home. Hundreds and hundreds of notes. And they found them well after she had passed away. So I am crying. They are crying. That story, then I was like, I don't care about the other two stories. This is my story for the day. It ended up on the Today Show the next day. And I was like, I will do whatever you need to further your cause, because they're a grassroots local family that is now worldwide raising money to find the home run cure for DIPG, because there are researchers who believe that they can unlock this one. It unlocks the cure to a litany of other cancers,
Wow.
specifically brain cancers, but it'll be the home run cure for all the dominoes that need to fall for a lot of other things. So every year I do their gala. I'll do fundraisers for them. I also do fundraisers for the Alzheimer's Association. In the years that I have run the Flying Pig, I've done it as for the Team All-Stars. So though my running days are over, I still do Alzheimer's Association charities, fundraisers and stuff. I have one coming up here. But yeah, those are the two that are pretty close to my heart.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
That's great.
Dragonfly Foundation also. Love the Dragonfly Foundation.
You have an event coming up, right?
That's this Friday, though. So
okay.
it might, I don't know. I don't know when this is going to air, when people are listening. But typically, my friends at Cappy's, so I live in Loveland. Cappy's is like the heart of downtown, right? It was, back in the day, it was a bait shop. Now it's a liquor store with a patio and a bar. And
You have to innovate.
oh, absolutely. It's right on the river. It's great. any given Friday, you could probably find me there after work. But
You don't have to wake up as early for liquor. It doesn't spoil. So.
Exactly. So we do every year. I partner with them for a pint night, so they donate money for every beer sold, and we do raffles and stuff and live music, and it's fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you for the work you're doing on that front. Thanks for spending some time with us as well.
Little did I know I needed so many Mount Rushmores. I didn't know I was like New Heights. I didn't
know.
I was like the New Heights podcast. Here, they're always asking for Mount Rushmores. I should have pre-studied for that.
I know, and we threw like completely ridiculous ones at you too.
That's okay.
Randi, thank you so much. Thank you all for listening. Remember, if you liked what you heard, please rate, review, and subscribe. If you have questions, comments, or you just want to tell us how much you love the show, email us at meanwhile@cincymuseum.org. But most importantly, come see for yourself. Visit cincymuseum.org for the latest reasons to visit. Thank you for listening. We'll catch you next time.